My name is Coach Oscar. A lot of you have seen me or met me or meets me on any of the social media. I use Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn the most. These are my most uh, uh, platforms that I use most of the time. I'm a transformational coach, and by the grace of God, they call me Africa #1 business strategist and life coach. Now, the reason why I go by that is it used to be a dream. I've seen people's life being transformed by what I do. And this is not really about me. I was born with a black spoon, not a white spoon, not a silver spoon. Mine was so black. So I look back at where I was coming from. I came from a very remote part in Nigeria. Yeah, my father was a prince or a crown king, but we were broke. And yeah, he was a teacher. I hate to be a teacher then because most of my family were just going through that line as if it was meant for all of us. I just hated just sharing knowledge, but you are broke. I hated it that much. Anyway, that's my story. I left my home while I think I was under 5 years, left the village to go live in a big city with my brother, who eventually trained me, sent me to university, and raised me to be who I am. I remember I became the first in my family to have a very big corporate job in the bank, and I was earning so much money. And then one day I lost the job. I never saw it coming. It just happened. And then when it happened, I asked myself questions like, where do I go from here? What must I do? Is this the end of that beautiful career? So I sat back. I remember that while I was still from my first year in university, I wrote my book, first book, Who Am I? And then I wrote my second book while I was still in the paid employment, thriving in the marketplace. And then I wrote the third one. So while I was still in the paid space, I was working part-time. I was training. I get called to come coach or even train some microfinance banks and some company. So while the job was going, I sat back there and was asking myself, what else can I do? What is it that life can do with me? My life became that kind that I sat back and I began to ask myself, what can I do with this life or this career that is broken? All of a sudden, I started identifying. I've seen people train and they get paid. I've seen people speak, they get paid. I've seen people do those stuff that I do, write books, and they are making money from there. They traveled overseas and all of that. How can I monetize? I say this over and over again. The reason being that if you don't learn the business of what you're doing, you will just be occupying space, pretending to be in that business. But the truth is, you're not in that business. You're just occupying space, disrupting this, disturbing other people who could take those clients, but you just there occupying space. So I learned the act of speaking. I went sign up for coaching program, took some certification program, became a coach and a speaker. And today I can boldly say that I'm actually monetizing those gigs. And COVID came, it became like my best year. In fact, in my coaching business, this year is like the best. In fact, it's the best yet. So this is just a little part of me. I've been privileged to travel to over 8 countries. I've written 2 books, and I have 3 beautiful daughters. Guys, it's nice to have you here. And the reason why we're here this evening is just for us to share our experience and then see how the ultimate thing, like when I was writing this on my social media, is if we'll be able to profile some maybe strategies for 2021, looking at how you can position yourself, what you're doing, it doesn't matter what industry you are. The truth is this, if you're not constantly innovating and developing yourself, in fact, you would soon be out of date. It's just not like saying a cliche, but it's definitely going to happen to you. So tonight, it is about reimagining our future. It's about sharing strategies and then finding in-depth insight into where we think the future of 2021 is going to go, which direction. How do we position ourselves so we can dominate and have a transformation year? All right, guys, let's get started. I have a couple of many of my friends in the room. I acknowledge you. Thank you so much. My IT guy is here. Thank you for joining, and all of you from the different cities, different part of the world where you're joining us from. Today, we're going to get started. Like I said, my goal is to help you finish strong, finish 2020 strong, and also come back stronger in 2021. I said something very profound in the beginning. The difference between where you are and why you're not achieving the kind of result that you're not achieving is just something you're missing. Maybe discipline, maybe one idea or one thing you need to do, but you're not doing. So we want to dissect this evening, and I'm honored to have this team of experts in the room. If you don't have a goal, it's just like you're dreaming. And we know that merely dreaming doesn't guarantee anything. Every success has a principle. Caroline, talk to us about goal setting.
I wanted to talk about two specific things that I have found to be very useful when you are goal setting or setting your goals. And I call them the 3 C's of goal setting. What are these 3 C's? They are basically the 3 things that are constantly changing, even as you set your goal. Remember, when we started 2020, most of us had goals, and those goals were disrupted totally. Why is that so? As we've heard from Graham Latigan, that we are living in a VUCA world. What does VUCA mean? It's volatility, it's uncertainty, it's complexity, and it is ambiguity. So when you put that word together, you think of 2020. There's never been a world where VUCA has been so evident in our lives. And so the changes that have happened in our lives have really made so many of us wonder whether we have what it takes. And I want to encourage you and tell you, you have what it takes. But first and foremost, it's really important as an individual to identify one thing. Who is changing? Yes, COVID came, but are you changing to ensure that the changes that COVID has brought in your life, in your business, is actually pushing you forward toward that goal that you set? So the first C is who is changing. And here we are looking at you as an individual. You must change. You cannot remain the same. The community that you work in changes. The needs that they have changes. Have you ensured that your business has changed to address that? Populations and the people that you serve, they change. The government has changed. There are new taxes, new laws, every day changing. So who has changed? A big question in 2020. As much as COVID came, have you changed? The second C stands for change, but we are looking at what, not who, what. And what is changing? I'm going to talk about your coverage. The amazing Cobus today has talked about how he's helping people to move their business online. Are you utilizing the online market? Earlier today, one of our speakers also said that because of COVID, her business has just gone global. Are you going global? Because that is the new world that we are going into. People are doing business with people all over the world. You are no longer restricted to Cape Town, Johannesburg. So what has changed in your goal setting process? Make sure that you are changing your coverage. Make sure that you are changing your personal behavior, and I'll go into that. Make sure that you are changing your knowledge. If you are getting your source of knowledge from certain coaches, open your eyes. There's a lot of free education that is available. There are so many networks that are opening up for you to utilize. What technology will take you there with this new goal that you have set, because Coach Oscar told me that you had already gone through the goal setting. So you have a goal. What technology do you need, or are you going to use to take your goal to the next level? I'm asking you a question. What new models are you coming up with? Same old doesn't work anymore in this new world that we are stepping into. What data, information are you now drawing from? Are you comparing information from different parts of the world with your niche in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, in Pretoria, wherever you are? What systems are you putting in place? If you don't have any of those, you might want to consider speaking with Graham Latigan to learn how to put those systems in place. Lastly, I'm going to look at the third change, and is the direction of change. In the direction of change, I would like to speak about a model called the KISS model, which we have used with our nonprofits in strategy, development, and management, and also in change management. The first thing that I would like you to consider is, are you increasing some things? Are you decreasing some things? Are you improving? Are you reducing? Are you adopting? Are you establishing? What are you using? What are you integrating? These are questions that I would like you to ask. And as we come to the end of this, the 3 C's of outcome-based goal setting, I'll give you what I call the KISS model. This is something I started using when I learned it actually at Oxford University when I was blessed, and I was so privileged to be among the 30 future leaders who went for training at Oxford University. And K means keep. So I always ask myself when I look at my goal, what will I keep on doing? There are things that you are doing or you did in 2019, which are best practices. We keep them. Those best practices, keep on doing them because they are bringing results. However, there are things that did not give you much result and they need improvement. That is the change. So keep improving. What are you going to improve? Right? So the third one under the KISS model, keep on doing. What are you going to improve? The third one, we are going to put an end to things which do not work, to relationships, people. Can you hear me? Relationships that are not working, you are going to stop. Friends on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn that are not adding value to you, you are going to stop liking their post and wasting 30 minutes to 1 hour looking at the cats and the dogs that they are sending. This is not the time to be doing that. I understand you need to relax and you need to do that. But in this new world, my friends, we cannot waste time with people, with things, with situations, with even, sorry to say this, family members who pull you down. You have to find a way of dealing with them. Stop. As we said in South Africa, stop it. So there are things you must stop doing immediately. And then there are things that you must start doing. And that's where the amazing panel of coaches are here, and they will help you to put those systems in places, the behaviors, the knowledge, the technologies, the models, the policies, the guidelines for you to be able to be successful in your goal setting. I will end it there. Thank you so much.
That was fantastic, Caroline. You nailed it, and you even touched on some of the things, my 5 whys that I actually want to give out at the tail end of this. If you stay to the end, I have a surprise that I want to actually give out. Now, you nailed it the way you simplify and break down those C's just to help people adjust. Let me not stay too long here. Let's bring in another amazing woman, Florence. Florence is a change leadership expert, and we've been having sessions, and I love the way perspective in terms of how she look at change. In fact, that was even what informed her being on my panel today. Flo, let's get to hear you. What do you think is goal setting, and how does this have anything to do with change and the future?
Cool. All right. Thank you, Coach Oscar, and hi everyone again. So the question around goal setting and how it is related to change. So when we talk about change, a lot of people say people think they know what change is. So we all know what change is, right? It is something that is different yesterday and tomorrow, and something happened in between, right? So if you look at goal setting, one of the things around goal setting and people, the human factor in change, because I look at the human factor in change, right? Our minds, the way we think, the way we perceive things. And one of the very big things about goal setting is mindset is so crucial. Kubas mentioned it earlier, the power of the mind in any goal setting process. So when you are setting a goal starts off as a dream, right? You dream that you wish that you did something. That dream must become a plan, which becomes a goal. It starts with a vision, and it starts with positive anticipation. So I want to say this: no one sets a goal expecting to fail at it. You don't set a goal with negative anticipation. You set a goal with positive anticipation. You are believing you're going to get there. And the mind is very powerful in this belief. So I love what Caroline just said about surrounding yourself with the right people, exposing yourself to the right elements, because all of those things affect what is happening in your mindset. So it is very easy to allow ourselves to clutter our thinking because we get influenced by what we expose ourselves to. So one of the things that I'd really like to touch on today, and related to goal setting, but also related to a topic that is so close to how you achieve your goals, is that change resilience. So we always talk about resilience, and we say, what is building change resilience? And one of the things around resilience requires you to practice certain things consistently. So I'm going to go through maybe 4 of those items, just 4 tips around how you build change resilience. And if we look at 2020, and I was reflecting, and I remember the one thing I had almost forgotten is at the end of 2019, I had previously been an entrepreneur. So I'm an entrepreneur that turned corporate and then went back to entrepreneurship. So in end of 2019, I resigned from my big corporate employer and decided to go back into a world that I truly missed. And my goal was related to, yes, consulting, but very much real estate as well. I'm a qualified real estate agent also. And I love property, right? So I thought, oh, I'm going to do that. But I was always balancing more than one item. As COVID started and lockdown started, clearly the focus shifted, and I had to shift my goal. And I was okay with letting the other goal um, almost like become less important, because I understood that I had to make a choice and I had to make a new decision. So change is very much about being able to literally change your mind about things sometimes. You may have set a goal that you now need to reposition. And 2020 was one of those years where we had to reinvent. We had to reinvent ourselves in many different ways. And I see 2021 almost as, for some people, 2020, we lived in denial as well, right? So we all thought everything was going to be normal by the time we got to December. That hasn't happened, right? So there was denial going on, and that's a typical in your change curve of your human psyche. We start off with denial, then we get angry. But why isn't everything going back the way it's supposed to be? Then we start to bargain a little bit to go, okay, all right, fine. Okay, so if it can't get completely better, can it just get better so I can go to the beach? And then we get into the mode where we get depressed and we're like, it's never going to be the same again, and I'm never going to be able to do these things again. So it's human emotions, right? And building and goal setting is a lot about understanding that cycle of human emotions. At some point, you get to acceptance. I think a lot of us are not there yet. So we're not in acceptance yet. And I'll tell you something that somebody said the other day, and they were like, yeah, definitely by like March 2021, it should all be back to normal. Hey, that's called denial. You're still in denial. So one of the things we need to do as we get into 2021, be very self-aware. So understand what's happening with your own emotions. Your level of self-awareness is very important because it allows you to walk away from the denialists and to focus on your goal, because the denialists are going to make you create goals that are not sustainable. I'll give you an example. So I also do a lot of change management training. I'm a globally certified trainer in HCM BOK, which is a product. Now, that product used to be face-to-face classes over 3 days. In the COVID world, it became virtual classroom instructor-led training, which is fine. In the new year, already there were a lot of classes being set for face-to-face. And one of the things I said to myself is, what if we have a wave 2? So that what if we have a wave 2 is part of plan B. So if we have a wave 2 or we continue in COVID time, what do we then do with our strategy? So a big part of goal setting is, yes, you must plan for what you want in 2021. Then you must have a plan A plan B, and a plan C in life in general, whether it's to do with your business or whether it's to do with your personal life or your family. What is your plan B? Because what that does to our mind, it keeps us prepared and it stops us from getting surprises we could actually have thought through. Because it's like you're doing, in business, we call it contingency planning or business continuity planning. So you also need to have a business continuity plan for your life. That is part of managing change. The other aspect I'd like to talk about is our minds are geared also to spotting and being afraid of what could be coming that we don't know. So there's a professor in University of Virginia, and she came up with the term catastrophic thinking, Dr. Meg J. But catastrophic thinking is essentially your what if. We are wired as humans to spot danger. We are wired to be aware, to be very aware of what could harm us. So the challenge with what if is it can get in the way of your goals. So you set the goal very small, just in case things don't work. But your what if could be turned around to a positive what if. What if it works? What if your goal actually materializes? So your what if can be positive, but your what if can be negative. So you have to watch what's happening to your what if. And we call it negative anticipation. So negative anticipation is things might go wrong. And it is something we learn as grown-ups, by the way. Have you ever seen a child who is, say, grade 2 or grade 3? You know, kids are wired for positive anticipation. They get home, they're excited, they're going to play with their friends, they're going to have ice cream. They think of all the things they're going to enjoy. But we lose it somewhere as we grow up, and we then get wired to negative anticipation because life happens, right? But there's an upside to every situation. So it's about mindset. It's about reminding yourself that there is an upside. We all saw it in 2020 with COVID. There was a downside, and with all due respect, a lot of us lost family, we lost relatives, there's been a lot of sadness. But it does not mean that there isn't a rainbow in 2020 and in 2021. So part of it is making sure that you're wiring yourself to the positive thinking. So positive thinking is crucial. The other last two tips I'd like to talk about is tap into goal setting. Because it's a positive exercise, you must be able to sustain your momentum, your positive momentum. And what sustains our positive momentum is the basics that look after our bodies. So we always talk about happiness chemicals. You must tap into your happiness chemicals. And how do you do that? So what are your happiness chemicals? So if you go back to biology, it's your dopamine, it's your serotonin, it's your endorphins, it's all these things that doctors talk about. But how do you get them? You sit in the sun and you get vitamin D. You exercise, you go for a walk, you eat right, you spend time with family and friends. You must find something that is humorous. These are actually protection mechanisms for our bodies. You laugh and you eat dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is actually very good for you. So those happiness chemicals allow us to build enough resilience to go the long road. When you become isolated, and COVID brought loneliness, when you become isolated, you start to feel low, you feel depressed. It's because you need contact, and that contact could be virtual. You could be phoning someone, but to not have any conversation with anyone is harmful for the human psyche, because we are pack animals. We are designed to be in the company of other people. And the last thing I'd like to say is you must have a mantra that you say so often, your brain has no choice but to believe it. And that mantra can be anything. My mantra is this too shall pass. It's a season. Every season runs out of rain, they say. That's an African proverb. This too shall pass. There is no situation that does not turn. Sometimes you have to make it turn. And there's a joke that says it might pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass. Seasons change. So 2020 was a season. We're going into 2021. And what is that other mantra? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we say these things, but you need to believe it. You need to believe it enough to actually apply it to yourself. And in closing, I'd like to leave you guys with a little expression that I don't even know where I picked it up from, but it says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So 2020 fooled us. We didn't understand the size of this problem, but we also didn't understand the size of the potential that lay in 2020. Now we know. So in 2021, don't be fooled, because when we're fooled in 2021, it's on us. We understand that we have to plan for a potential wave 2 or 3, but we also understand that there are opportunities, and we are able to reset, rewire, reinvent, and consolidate. So that's pretty much what I really, really wanted to share. In essence, we know better, so we must do better. Thank you, Coach Oscar.
Thank you so much, Florence. I know if I let you, you'll kill them. I picked up this one for the first time, catastrophic thinking. And then another one, okay, I've heard this before, but at least it just came in now fresh. Happiness chemicals. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this insight and this knowledge with us. I love the approach from which you're coming from. Guys, this series is actually the second one, the series or part 2 of the first one we started. Maybe if you weren't in the first one, you can request for a replay where we actually dissect goal setting. It became an art of discipline. There was commitment. There was the big why. Now, today we're just trying to move from there, even though we're still touching on goal setting and how to end the year strong and also dominate your 2021. We're much more looking at how do we redefine or reimagine. That's why I love the perspective from where Flo was coming from now. We are aware. We all know that even if COVID has to live with us for the next 5 years, we will have to eat. We'll have to pay bills. So we will find a way, creative ways to survive. I want to go to the man on fire, the man that makes the work on fire. Mr. Kubos, I'd like to hear your perspective in terms of what do you think 2021 has in stock, and what is it that is necessary at this point for us to walk into that new year? Over to you, Mr. Kubos.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, definitely. I think this year is already finished, and I think to go into 2021 is we need to sit down and prepare. Use rather this month, and for some of my clients, I say even January, where you sit and plan, and then you kick off the year with a storm. One thing is foremost is to take stock as this year is finishing up. Now, how I like to take stock is something called the Wheel of Life. And you take on the Wheel of Life, and the Wheel of Life has certain areas in that life. One area is relationship, other areas spirituality, health, business, career, family, relationship, etc. And you look at those areas in your life, and you take stock and see what has happened in those areas in the past year, and where are you currently? Because for me, the most important, before we can go look at where we want to be next year, we first need to look at where we are ending now. What is our foundation? What is our starting blocks? And then next year comes is we use this area as what do we want to achieve? What is it if we in 12 months time and we sit and we chat, what is it you would love to achieve in all of those areas? In health, you can even see on my vision board behind me, and just on top of me, there's 100. Just did my vision board. I want to weigh 100 kilograms. So that is my target. So I sit down and I create goals in each of those areas that I want to achieve in the next year. And then what I do is I take on what is some of the steps, 3 steps I will take to achieve those goals. And then the next step is I will create a vision board. Now, I believe in vision boards because every vision board I've created, I've achieved everything. And this is mine for next year. And I believe is for us to have a great year next year, we need to then plan for next year. What is it? Everything that we need to plan, that we need to take steps. The next one is then when January, February comes, we need to take action. And then after that is we have to, how they say, you prepare for the worst, but you expect the best. And sometimes I say, everyone has their different opinion about goal setting and about what you want to achieve and how you want to do it. But there's one thing that I learned from my guru, my mentor, that has gotten me to take action. And it was Tony Robbins says, it's about this general with a fleet of ships coming to an island. And they were about to take the island, and they got off. And as they got off on the island, he looked around and he looked at his captains, and he said to his captains, let's burn all of the ships. And they were crazy and like, why should we burn the ships? He says, well, we're either going to take this island or we're going to die on this island, but there's no going back. And I think that is the one thing for me that stood out is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to achieve your goals? It's easy to say that, but Gandhi says that everything starts with our beliefs, that becomes our thoughts, it becomes our words, that becomes our actions, our habits, our values, and that ultimately becomes our destiny. So we need to change our destiny by changing our beliefs, our thoughts, and our words. And one thing to do that is let's start using the right words. And one of my words that I love to use is whatever it takes. Live without regret. And I think that is the one thing is we can't do anything about the past. COVID has happened, the past has happened, the elections has happened. So what? We can't do anything about it. What is the lessons we can learn from that we can apply so that we can become better next year? Now, I listened to a video by Kobe Bryant this morning, and Kobe said he wasn't the best of the best in the industry, but he knew that he had to learn from his past experiences to become better. He had to take stock of himself where he was at shortcomings so that he could improve, so that he could become the best of the best in the games. But also not that, as he started targeting the people in the areas that he wants to become best. Apart from Michael Jordan, he had Bird as his other mentor. He had gone all of the basketball players, but he had about 5 to 6 of them that was his mentors that he would go to mentally and ask, what would they do? How did they become better in certain areas that he wanted to become better? And I think that is the other step, is all of those goals you want to achieve. Who's the people that have already achieved something similar so that you can look at, okay, what can I learn from them? There's a book by the name of Think and Grow Rich, and I would really highly suggest you read it when, this next month for 2. But in there it says, you create like a theater of the mind, and you put all of your gurus and people that you follow there, and you have a conversation with them, and you ask them the questions, and you learn from them. And I found that had been an amazing experience, especially in this last few months. When COVID happened, those first 2 months, I was sitting down. This year was supposed to be the best year, and it became the best year. But at that moment, it wasn't. And I sat down and I started talking to all of my mentors and gurus, my mind mastermind, yes. And as I was talking to them, they started showing out to me there's certain things that I need to focus on. And the moment I did it, I became back into flow. And when I got back into flow, I got in line with my goals, and I'm getting closer to my goals. And I think that is the one thing is about, and I think that if I leave you all with this, Coach, one thing that I've learned with firewalking, the first step is the hardest. But one thing that you need to do is you have to keep your eyes on the focus, on the goal. Because if you're going to look down on the fire is going to teach you a lesson. But if you look towards where you are walking, All that you have to do is take one step in front of the next, and before you know it, you're at your end destination. And I think that is the one is let's cut out all of these chaos around us about what is happening in the world, and let's bring it back to where do I want to go, and how can I influence the world, and how can I achieve my goals.
Fantastic, excellent. Thank you so much the way you copied, and I am in fact fascinated by how you bring knowledge ideas here. You talk about the book you read, you talked about your mentors, you talk about having a mastermind group, and for me, this is the one thing that I kind of speak to most people. I wrote down here in my five strategies that I intend to share at the end here in terms of how you can actually end the year strong and dominate. And one of it is, I said, you can't do this alone. I dare people, stop trying to work so hard all by yourself, thinking that you can actually figure out success by yourself. That is just more or less like a long route. It's like someone, I work on the eighth floor of my eighth floor of the office, and there were times that, although that was for exercise anyway, every morning I tried to use the staircase. Now I learned something because while doing that work, for me it was more of an exercise. While doing the hard thing, whereas think the amount of time, the effort put in climbing the stairs till you get to the eighth floor, and then you have someone who uses the lift, which is just in a split seconds you are there. There is no need trying to reinvent the wheel all by yourself. You have people around you, you have books, you have tapes, you have all of those materials. So we are inexcusable when we try to say, oh, it's so hard, it's difficult. That's why we're here. I don't want to continue too much. Let's bring in another amazing woman I respect so much, Silva. I want to hear your thoughts in terms of distractions, in terms of commitment, because like Coach just says, it's not like we don't really want to set goals. It's not like we don't want to be successful. It's not like no one really like to have that disciplined life to achieve the goal they want. But we have issues, and that has to do with discipline. It has to do with the commitment. In fact, sometimes the why. Can we get to hear your thought, your perspective in terms of how you can reimagine the future of 2021 and how it relates to goal setting and what needs to take place like now? Silva.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Coach, I have a really big goal for 2021 that I would love to share with everyone else. And that is because of the way that our world has opened up online. And if you recall, you obviously all know that business networking is a big thing. We go to network meetings, we have chamber meetings, we have all kinds of communities and networks in which we network. And this year has opened up in the biggest way ever than before, the world of online networking. And that is why I actually started a network this year, is specifically geared for online networking, the Rafiki Referral Network. And the goal behind it really is that I feel the online world is obviously the space to be. But everyone, whenever you think of online, you're thinking of kind of social media, mass networking, you're getting a lot of stuff out there, speaking to thousands or hundreds of people. I want to talk to you about face-to-face networking. Now, that's an interesting thing online because the only way that we can do it is through mediums like this with Zoom, for example, or Team Meet or whatever, webinars, etc. Places where you see someone from across a screen. The problem when you see someone from across a screen is that you can't pick up on all the little normal subtleties that you pick up on with people when you're sitting in a room with them. You have this computer screen, there's a distance here now. So all you see is the face. You don't see the body language. You don't kind of have almost like a sense of the person at all. So it can be a little bit disturbing, actually. And how do you, in this kind of environment, build trust? Because I don't know about you, but do you remember the sort of the beginning days of when we started doing this in a big way this year? technology was very overwhelming, and some people were very stressed and traumatized by having to go online and, juggle a whole lot of things. As a speaker, I'm sure you know what I mean. Many of you are speakers. You don't have that connection with people. So I want you to think about having referral networking or any kinds of business networking as a big goal for you in the new year. It's a big trend, but what I want to specifically focus on is the online kind of networking that you can do. And how can you get people's attention? How can you get people to really listen and connect with you? Because you're now not sitting face to face. And one of the big things that I discovered this year was, instead of just introducing yourself and rattling off a whole lot of things that you do and your credentials and so on, try to introduce yourself and what you do by telling a story. Because I think most of you understand the power of story. And storytelling has become a big trend, right? On social media, in advertising, connecting, drawing people in via a story. You can do the same in networking. So what we've learned in our network, and this is how we network in our network, is instead of me introducing myself, I tell you a story about a client that I've helped. And in the process of telling you the story about a client I've helped, I try to illustrate the difference that I made to that client's life. And as I'm telling you the story, you connect with this person, you connect with the client, or you connect in a way that allows you to think of someone that you know who would really benefit from that kind of help, and how amazing the difference it would make to their life if they could get what you're offering. So it's a different way of networking. If you get what I'm trying to explain, this is a goal that I'd like you to explore for the new year, and develop, in other words, what we have called a unique referral point, a URP, not a USP, a URP, the unique referral point. And your unique referral point is that thing, that story that you can tell people about a client that you've helped or clients you've helped, what difference you made, so that they can connect with you. If you do that, you stand out from other people who are standing there doing an elevator pitch. It's a very, very different way. The other big thing with online networking is, in order to develop the trust and the connection with people, because you can't see them and feel them and sense them, there's a whole lot of work that you really need to do. And the biggest work is being authentic, just being completely yourself and being real, like we are here now today. Here I'm sitting in my room, you're seeing my background. You don't have this fancy island and interesting things floating in the background here. No, this is me. And there's Coach Oscar, there's everyone else sitting there, and we're just ourselves, right? You can connect with that. I don't have to pretend I'm somebody else. I don't pretend I've got some fancy gadgets going on. It's not that kind of meeting here today. And being real, being authentic, and keeping it on that level builds a bit of safety for everybody else. You don't feel as threatened and out of it as anyone else. You just feel like you can connect. You build a better presence with people. And when you've built that presence and build that safety, they open up to you. So those are some of the things that I am going to focus on this year, and I'd like to share with other people to focus on, in order to have a new angle in the new year that perhaps you didn't have before.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Silva. Thank you so much. I love that relationship part of it. I think most of the panelists that have shared something touch on the human element, the relationship part of it, because I come from a place where we have this popular saying that human beings are doors. Human beings or people are door. When we mean door, D-O-O-R. So literally, it means the person you meet can literally open new doors for you. And that's how life revolves. We not all complete ourselves. At some point, we need people. And probably I'll come back to you, Silva, so you can talk about how to actually get to deepen relationship, building or starting that conversation. Because I know most people go out there in terms of whether in a one-on-one physical networking, most people struggle with how do I start the conversation? What exactly should I say? I know you've dealt with this, so I'll come back to you later on. But let's get to take Mr. Wale from the US, Trump man. Mr. Wale, we want to hear from you. What are the perspectives you think 2021 will be throwing at us? And how do you think, in your opinion, we can actually either position ourselves or re-strategize? And how does this relate to goal setting or gearing up for 2021?
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach Oscar. And I'm humbled by the amazing speakers that have gone before me and honored to be joining the line as well. And at the same time, I know like the other speakers that are going to be coming behind me, they're going to kill it. So in the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to be running through a couple of things that I want to share with you guys. My conversation with you today is going to be divided into two segments. The first one is the personal development, and the second part is the professional development. So, which I always call the PMP. I'm going to start with this first line, which is you're going to learn so much from failure as much as you're going to learn from success. There are so many speakers and so many conferences where they're going to tell you 5 steps to success, 10 steps to success. But like Florence and the rest of the speakers before me have spoken, they discussed about having that contingency plan, understanding that life is not a straight arrow. There are times where you can make all the plans in the world as much as you want to make them, but you also have to leave that room and understand that life can constantly throw you a curveball, and which is one of the main areas where a lot of us are unprepared for. And like I'm an African, I'm a Nigerian. A lot of us African, we're so spiritual that we don't want to hear anything about failure. As a matter of fact, when you mention failure around an average African, it's gonna be like, no, I reject it in Jesus' name. But the truth is this: failure is part of life. Failures are gonna come at different stages in our life, and how we bounce back or how we bounce from those situations determine how far and how fast we're gonna go. One of the very few things I love talking about is I believe each one and every one of us at different stages in our life, we bought an electronics. And each of these electronics always come with these long manuals. Personally, I don't read them. So I always feel like they're wasting their papers anyway. But when you buy these electronics and you buy these gadgets, it comes with this manual that tells you what to do, how to do, when to do them. Life also comes with this invisible manual. As much as we want to disregard the fact that, I just want to live my life the way I want. Oh, by all means, please do. Live your life the way you want. But guess what? You're going to be the one to enjoy the consequences of those decisions. And when I say consequences, we naturally tend to gravitate towards the negative side of those consequences. But consequences can either be good and it can be bad. But you're going to be the one that's going to enjoy most of it. So like I said, you're going to learn a lot from failure as much as you're going to learn from success. Like what Oscar was saying during his introduction, he was talking about the books that I published. By grace, I'm a published author of 2 books and currently working on the 3rd one, which is going to lead me to my point. Your sales speech is in your authenticity. Your sales speech is in your authenticity. If you're not authentic, people will see right through you. Permit my French, in my corporate environment, we say people will see through your bullshit. So I drop it. People are going to see right through you. Because when I say authenticity is what's going to give you that particular edge you're looking for, the truth is everybody else is taken. So be you. And when I was talking about the 2 books that I published, my first book, actually, I didn't sell more than 50 copies. Why? Because when I was writing that book, I was trying to sound so much like a transformational speaker. Like when you read this book, your life is just going to like, boom, change. Well, guess what? It was a lie because I focused so much on trying to be like everyone else, trying to make sure like, oh, when you read this book, before you go 5, 6 lines, you've come across like 10 codes. But when I was writing my second book, I took a step back and said, okay, what were the things that I did wrong in my first one that I couldn't sell more than 50 copies, that I want to make sure that I don't repeat the same mistake in my next book? And that's why I said when I opened, I said, you're going to learn so much from failure as much as you're going to learn from your successes as well. So what I did was I looked back and said, okay, what are the things that I did wrong that can help me improve in making sure that I don't repeat the same mistake? And the next thing that I did was I realized that I wasn't authentic enough in that book. Even when I went back and read the book, I was like, oh man, I wouldn't even have paid for this myself. But I was so much eager for the title of, oh, I'm an author, I'm a published author, that I didn't really focus on what are the things that I need to put in place. And when I fixed those little things, surprisingly, which I wasn't really surprised, my next book, within 4 weeks, we sold over 10,000 copies within 4 weeks of publication. And I'm talking about a book of $26 per copy. That's even on my last visitation to Nigeria. Some people say they want to buy my book. I said, don't worry, you don't have to pay. Let me just do some charity right here, because when you do the dollar equivalent to Naira, it's no joke. But that's why I said you're going to learn a lot. Now, let's take a whole look at 2020 as a whole. As we were planning for Vision 2020, African leaders and global leaders talking about Vision 2020, nobody saw COVID coming. But when COVID came, it took us months and months of adjustment. And a lot of people are still going through that adjustment phase right now. But the people that were so quick enough to adjust as to the new reality are the ones that are able to benefit from 2020. I work for a financial tech institution. Before COVID, a single stock for our company was $75. I can tell you within the last 8, 9 months of COVID, our stock right now is 212 per stock per shares. That's to let you know that more than ever before in the history of our company, 2020 has been the year where we've excelled the most. And why was that? It was because all of us at senior leadership level sat down at the roundtable conversation and said to ourselves, okay, this is 2020, this is what's happening this year. How can we make sure that we don't end up like most companies firing our employees? Rather than firing our employees, we've ended up hiring a whole lot of new people just to expand our business. Why? Because we're able to embrace the new reality. Another thing that I would love to share with you guys when it comes to like business level is that having a business and starting a business is not just about a dream. Oh, I have a dream that I want to do it with my 8 to 5 job. You know what? As a CEO, I can be my own personal business owner. Wake up when I like, sleep when I like. That freedom. Business is no joke. If you're planning to have your own personal business or you're having your own personal business, how far you go is dependent on how deep you think. I'm going to say that one more time. How far you go is dependent on how deep you think. If you're thinking like, you know what, the main reason why I want to have a business is because of I want to do it with 8 to 5. I can tell you from experience and statistics, you're going to fall in the categories of business owners that doesn't survive the first 5 years. And that's why you see so many people that after 3 years, it's not like, man, what about your business you were telling about? That one. I'm done with that one. I've started another one. And then when it's to me, thinking, I'm done with that one. I've started another. What you're going to end up doing is the analogy of a treadmill that I love to use. You can be on a treadmill and running for hours. You're running quite all right, but you're not moving. You're in the same particular spot. You can say you burned like 1,500 calories or wherever, but did you leave point A to point B? The answer is no. So you're going to end up doing so much and achieving so little. And then that brings me to another part where it is not just enough to have dreams and visions. You have to understand the hard work behind translating those dreams into reality. People don't read the book you wish to write. People read the book you've written. People don't patronize the businesses you wish to start. People patronizes the business you start. So, and another thing I'm going to say real quick, because I don't want to take too much time, is if you're going to succeed in business, I'm going to tell you this just one time. If you're going to succeed in business, it takes a deep level of brutality to survive in business. Brutality in the sense that friends and families are going to try and patronize you for freebies. It is not your place to offer freebies to friends and families. As a matter of fact, you're going to pay me the full price. If you're going to succeed in businesses, you're going to lose friends, but you're going to gain friends as well. When you start businesses, people are going to come to, as a matter of fact, for me personally, hey, if I give you advice, I've seen people reach out to me and hey, brother, I'm asking for this. And I'm like, okay, first 5-10 minutes, I give you advice. Then when I realize that you come back to me and ask me the same question you asked me 3 days ago, that I'll tell you to go to my website and go and book an hour. Maybe by the time you pay me $250 an hour, you realize the gravity and the importance of the advices I'm giving to you. So if you're going to survive in business, you need that level of brutality. And like I said earlier, how far you go is dependent on how deep you think. Now, I'm going to be wrapping up on this. Why do you need to have visions and goals? Because it sounds like a cliche. Oh, you're walking into 2021. What are my visions? I need to have these visions. I need to have these dreams. I'm walking into this new year. No, it's not a cliche, honestly. Having goals, when you like setting goals, gives you the long-term visions and the short-term discipline. Because when you set, let's say you set 5 goals for yourself, it's a long-term vision. Oh, I have these 5 goals I want to accomplish in the next 12 months. The short-term discipline is that you go back and you constantly, okay, I've achieved this. I still have this to go. I have this to check off my list. You're going to constantly have that discipline. And that is the difference between leaders and followers. And I'm going to be wrapping up on these notes. Life is a pyramid. At the top of that pyramid, you have people who set goals and the discipline and the willingness, the pain to see through those goals. And then at the bottom, you have dreamers, the wishes, the people of, I want to do, I'm planning to do, I'm thinking of doing. So the question you should ask yourself is, as you go into 2021, do you want to do, or do you wish you want to do?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Wiley. Thank you. That was amazing. I think you just nailed failure, because I feel failure is one thing everyone should take into consideration when you're looking at planning for the future. Because the truth is, things most times don't always just happen the way we always plan. And how do you adjust? I love the scenario, the way you bring in the COVID experience in terms of how countries, governments, businesses had to make plans to respond to this unknown tragedy, unknown pandemic we're not used to. We can all learn from this, because if you look at your life, the goals you set for 2020 not forthcoming, then what do? For the first time, the government, well, they were not paying, they didn't budget for what happened, but had to make a plan, a backup plan. People were not working, some were receiving salaries. So how do you adjust when you hit the rock? What do? I purposely left out this man to be the last panelist for now. His voice alone has this kind of adrenaline that can spark up energy right here. So, Mr. Graham, let's get to hear your thoughts in terms of what strategies do you think are necessary for 2021? Why I say strategy is this? We're not even sure. I shared this on a group and someone was like, but we're not even done with 2020. We're already talking about 2021. So what is in it here? So what is it, the strategy you think, based on your focus, your insights, that one really need now to end the year strong? Because I know when the awareness is there, you start making plans, or you find a way to just readjust. What is your take here regarding strategies to respond to 2021 and also dominate in that new year? Mr. Greman?
Thanks, Coach. I'm happy to be the last speaker. I think I am, eh? Am I correct? Am I the last one? Yeah, cool. That's lekker. Yes, again, I'm very honored to be amongst the panelists over here. You know, there are some phenomenal minds here, and you often, wonder how you can actually top that. And I think what's very clear to me tonight is that everybody's really got the same message. You know, we've got similar messages. We might just have different pathways and different journeys. But to get back to your question and perhaps offer some insights there, I've got when COVID hit us, for that matter, if I can put it into sort of that context, we had two options. We either adapt or we die. It's that simple. And I want to sort of like share this with you that our story was one of absolute struggle, but at the same time of complete revelation. It was a time of phenomenal growth for us in our business, and that's something I want to talk about a little bit later. I'm also not going to keep you up very long. So I can attest to every speaker that has spoken here tonight, every panelist, and I think all the audience will have similar insights. That we have certainly come and experienced a wonderful journey. But this is very key to me. I'm telling my audience that I engage with on a daily basis that COVID was just a blip. In fact, we experience COVID all the time. And I want you to try and think of this synonymously in terms of the fact that disruption and VUCA times, volatility, complex and uncertain times, it's not new to us. Disruption is not a new thing to business, to the business world. We can go back centuries and we can have a look at how mankind has dealt with disruption, with uncertainty, with complexity across the globe. Going into COVID, there were bigger problems in Africa than anybody would have thought of. We just don't see it in the media. And we don't take notice of that. There's wars, there's a lot of poverty, there's so many bigger problems, with due respect, than COVID, notwithstanding the fact that many of us lost loved ones and it's still a factor out there. So I just want to start by saying that to me, disruption is not a new thing. And I think we need to start unconditioning our minds that this pandemic, for that matter, or 2020, was in so much so the beginning of a new thing. It forced us, like you heard Sylvia say, it forced us to adapt. But at the same time, we need to start unconditioning our minds now, put it behind us and start moving on. I mean, we're the only city on lockdown, Port Elizabeth, in South Africa. For some reason, they say we're the hot spot. So we're all cooped up inside, kind of thing. 10 o'clock, we put the covers on and we're into bed. But I have two approaches to goal setting. And my approaches are, one, philosophical, two, pragmatic. And in there, I think that if we have to use COVID, or can I say this pandemic, as a departure point, it's time for radical goal setting. Radical goal setting is not a new phenomenon. There are many authors that have mastered the subject, but that to me has really and truly, if I can say, has opened my eyes in 2020. So when COVID hit us, we lost our income for 4 months. 4 or 5 months, we had nothing. My wife is sitting opposite me here, Charmaine. We sold half our household to survive. We went through tremendous pressure and stresses. But I want to tell you something, we responded. It took us a month and a half to respond. We were in shock, awe, and disbelief, and then all of a sudden we had to rattle ourselves out of that. And we took on a different approach. We said radical is the way to go. Everybody dreams of success. It's not a new thing. I think Wally was talking about that. We all dream of success, but bombardment, disruption, all these challenges, it seems to force us to watch our dreams almost fading over the horizon, so to speak, disappearing. It's like we're having this longing for our dreams. And I think there's something wrong with that perception, first and foremost. We condition our mindsets to, if I can say, in the conditioning format of your mind, we condition our mind to settle for disappointments. Then it becomes so. If we condition and we speak it over ourselves, it is so. So I'm a very, very firm believer in the concept of the law of attraction, the affirmation, in biblical terms, what you sow, you reap. And I live by that methodology. We do. My wife and I, Charmaine, we live by that. And we've said it. We've sort of said, okay, if we're going to stick to the traditional process of SMART, SMART, the old traditional process of thinking, then as true as that process is, it's still traditional. And we believe now that if you're going to apply traditional thinking to goal setting, wow, man, at the end of the day, you're going to get traditional results. And that's okay. For some people, that's fine. You heard Wally saying, it's okay. If that is where you want to be, great. But it's no longer relevant. I think what is required in disruptive times is disruptive thinking. And you've got to train your mind now to be a lot more disruptive. It's a process that starts with, I see it on the bottom here, I see it on the screen. It's a process that starts with like setting goals, but those goals must reflect your highest intention. What are you intending with those specific goals? So for us, it is the philosophical process is what we speak, what we affirm, what we say, what we profess, if I can use that term very loosely, what we speak into our business, what we talk about our business, how we deal with our disruptions. Because even in our successes, and my board is full of success at the back here, it's phenomenal. I'm going to speak what Kuba said. 2020, as hard as it was a brilliant year for us. Phenomenal year. And even though I didn't earn an income for 4 months, I'm better for it because I learned a lot more. And so it begins with with the desire in life. It's a lot of people. The traditional thinking is that you will set goals for me, the I, and we changed that in fact, I changed that quite drastically. And one of the things that people want to achieve is I want to buy a new car. I want to get a house. I was speaking to delegates this afternoon for a national company. I'm training them on exactly this subject: goal setting and objectives and things like that, and leadership. And they're absolutely unresponsive. They've got a job, they've got everything in life, but yet they're unresponsive to themselves because they're just in a rut the whole time, and you're never going to grow. So to get the more pragmatic kind of approach to goal setting, and I've made a few notes here. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to sort of reflect this so I don't get it wrong for you. So that was the philosophical way of goal setting for me. It's how we affirm. It's the law of attraction. If we speak positive, we'll get it. Yes, there'll be letdowns. Yes, there'll be sort of disruptive times. But at the end of the day, the more positive we look at things, the greater happiness we experience. Whether we like it or not, it just happens for us. So for me, there are sort of two dimensions in goal setting from a pragmatic approach. And I like to look at it in terms of why this goal. If I'm going to set a goal for 2021, the first question I'm now teaching myself to ask is, or the first question I want to ask is, why this specific goal? First and foremost, it must be a motivating goal. It must be able to, motivation for us is extremely critical. So I'm not going to devise a goal, plan for a goal, or set a goal unless I have sufficient motivation for that. And then the second one for us in that dimension is, what is the focus? What is the focus? And the focus for us then sort of like drills down into two other chambers. Is it for me? Is it for me? Is the goal for me, or is it for a higher purpose? And this was the changing point in our life, specifically as we started to exit 2020 in the last quarter. If it's for you, then I want to tell you guys right now, it's an empty goal. So we changed our process and we said, if it's for a purpose, then you're a lot more above average. And I've then divided that into two drill down sort of boxes as well. First and foremost, growth. Is the goal that I'm setting going to help me grow? Second part, is it going to help me contribute? And if I grow, I'm happy. If I contribute, I'm happy. So automatically I have harmony, I've achieved wisdom. It's real life for me. It's a lot more different. So where I'm going with this is that your goals should be growth orientated or growth focused and contributory focused. How am I contributing to my growth, and what am I going to use that growth for? Is it to the benefit of others? Is it to the benefit of helping other people grow? Is it the benefit of my family, my friends, my colleagues, the people that I teach? And I think then my dreams and my, well, if I can call it dreams for that matter, my goals and aspirations start to realize. And the next thing is contribution. You know, Coach, I want to tell you something. You know this about me. You see the posts that we post regularly. It's very consistent out there. It's an abundance mindset. It's an absolute abundance mindset. You know, somebody said to me the other day, and I want to tell you guys this a short story. I had a double booking for training, and it happens very rarely, but when it does, you know, it's like people will say, wow, that's a blessing in disguise. And I say, no, it's not a real blessing. It's a contributory blessing to someone. So I have to use another trainer. But the difference between me and other collaborators is that I pay the person that's collaborating with me top dollar. I don't skim off the top. I give them the abundance. And all of a sudden, things just happen for me. I get a triple booking and a double booking, etc., etc., etc. So how am I contributing to other people's growth and to their sort of path in their journey as well? And for that, for me, it retains my focus and my consistency. If I'm focused and I'm consistent and I'm sending out the same message all the time, I'm in my lane, you know, results happen. And that's the kind of message I want to bring to this panel tonight. I hope I've made a bit of sense. But in the words of, you know, in the words of somebody, if you're asking my 21, I want to just say to you, 2021, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a difficult year. Now you're going to say I'm contradicting myself. Yeah, it's true. I said it in 2020. I said 2020 is going to be a hell of a difficult year. And my words weren't cold. It was a difficult year. And you know why I do that? I know it's difficult because I've got to work harder. It's the harder things offer me, the more I'm pressured to work, the more results I deliver. So what I've learned in 2021 is that I cannot do 2020. I cannot do 2021 alone. I need help. And that's where we've got to be. I've taken on a coach, Coach Quibus. I speak to you a lot, Coach Oscar. So I've now surrounded myself with people that can help me achieve my goals, my dreams, you know, my aspirations. And, you know, last but not least, if you want to go there, an African proverb says the following, you know, to go fast is to go alone. To go far is to go together. And that's the message I want to leave you guys with. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. I knew you would not disappoint. I knew. I know. See, Graham, I was asking some of my students in our private mastermind program just to share like what was like your big moment, your big time with on my program. And I know 2 or 3 particular clients from, I think the one from Croatia, the one from Australia and Tanzania said that man that speaks with one big voice. Remember that day you were like training, he said you blew their mind, you kind of touched their thinking in such a way that they never thought that way. Guys, like I said in the beginning, the reason for this is that we make you uncomfortable. We want to take you to a position where you're no longer comfortable at where you are, because for anything worth doing, any positive things would require that you shift your mind from the way you have always done it. And that's why you must appreciate every one of the speakers, one way or the other, touching the same exact thing. You have to be more disciplined, set a big goal. Now, I promise you that I'm going to give you some pointers to possibly strategies you can use to dominate the year, how you can end your year strong, and not just ending your year strong, but get ready to take your 2021 back, make it your transformative year. I wrote down a few things. From my experience in, I think, like 6 to 7 years I've been doing this coaching and training, I found that what motivate people in life is not really about money. The things that motivate people most times in life is not money. The key thing that motivates people is their big why. It is the why that pushes them to wherever they want to go to. It is the why that helps their endurance. The why is something like that is their fear. This is the thing that keeps them going. Your goal will not make sense if you don't have a why. And that's what Grammy just talked about right now. What is the why? What is the purpose for doing what you're doing? And you know, when your why is not, can't stand the test of time, because every why is subjected to a kind of test, to a furnace test. If your why can't stand, okay, why do you need a job? Why do you need a new business? Why do you need new clients? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why will you have to wake up in the morning and go to work? So you need to have a very strong why. So I wrote down here 5 things that can actually help you to go to the next level, help you end the year, dominate 2020, 2021. And the first thing I wrote here is I said you have to have develop a growth mindset. If you are an entrepreneur, just get ready that there are times you will get up and you will get knocked down. There are days you will just show up in the office or your workplace or expecting a business and it just gets to be disappointment. So get ready for ups and downs, roller coaster. But that is why you are an entrepreneur. You chose to go in there because as an entrepreneur, it's not really like a guaranteed success. We know you could fail many times, but one big success can just turn everything around. So I would say to anyone who is an entrepreneur here, or self-employed, or even if you are in a paid space, some bad days are always there. Bad days will always come. But you should never, never ever give up on what is important to you. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried, keep trying again. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, keep failing again. But I believe in life, if you fail 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if it is 99 times and you get one success can make up for all the failure that you had in the past.